also seeing a flood of Chinese nationals crossing our border. This is extremely disturbing. So far, this fiscal year, Border Patrol has apprehended more Chinese illegals than they did in all of fiscal year 2023. Sure, there's nothing to that. And there's still 6 months more to go. Now, the vast majority of them, 85% of them, are single adults, and most of them are men. Joining me now, Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Senator, that's only a 7,000% increase from 2021. What's up here?
Well, that's what I was going to say, Laura. It's a 7,000% increase. I mean, this is insane, but it's the consequence of having an open border, right? They've wanted this. We're getting exactly what they desired, which is you have no enforcement. You've got Chinese nationals now being caught at military installations, potentially spying on, our military. And it's part and parcel of what happens when you have a completely wide open border. And, the Democrats don't want to hold them accountable. We had an impeachment proceeding today in the Senate that wasn't a trial. For the first time in Senate history, Laura, we didn't have a trial. Mayorkas was impeached. We didn't have a trial bulldozing our constitutional order. So they're not interested in it. They're open borders. They're playing for the census play in 2030. They want to get as many people here illegally as they can to affect reapportionment. And it's a total disaster. And now, of course, we've got 7,000% increase of Chinese nationals crossing the border. Well,
I've got to say, it would have been nice if McConnell had dismiss the ridiculous impeachment of Trump when that arrived in the Senate. But they play for keeps. We play to be liked. But Senator, speaking of Mayorkas, he addressed this issue of what they're doing with this obviously China-sanctioned influx of illegals into the country. Watch.
For the first time, I had an engagement with my counterpart from the People's Republic of China to ensure that China would begin to accept removal flights so that we can deliver a consequence regime for individuals from the People's Republic of China who do not have a legal basis.
Senator, there has been one deportation flight to China. One. Tens of thousands of them are in the United States. Most of them adult males.
Yeah,
so my question is, what are they doing here? And isn't it the case that no Chinese national who lives in China is going to be making their way to the United States without China's knowledge, the CCP's knowledge?
Yeah, it's not like leaving, St. Louis to head to Washington, D.C. It's very difficult to get out of the People's Republic of China, a brutal dictatorial communist regime. So they're coming here, and we don't send them back. And that's exactly what we should be doing, but that's not in the DNA of this administration. We shouldn't trust Mayorkas. We certainly shouldn't trust Communist China on any kind of negotiation on this at all, because it's not going to happen. That's not what they do. They're going to give these folks a court date sometime in the 2030s and hope they show up like the other 9 million people here illegally.
Yeah, I don't think they hope they show up. I don't think they care if they show up. I mean, it's just like, come, welcome, work for cheap, and then they'll welcome hundreds of thousands and millions more. But moving to the TikTok question, according to Politico, Senator, Chinese diplomats are in D.C. meeting with Hill staffers about the legislation that would force the sale of the app. But now, is it true that they don't have to register as foreign agents, the lobbyists for TikTok? Why is that?
Yeah, that ought to happen, and we ought to make sure that TikTok is sold. There's no reason why, again, a communist regime should have the access to the information, keystroke information. They're spying on people's location. They can hear what you're saying. They know what you're doing on other apps. This is China, and so this makes all the sense in the world. We need to move forward on that legislation. But again, I think the Democrats are blocking this, it's a terrible situation, Laura, because TikTok, it's like having literally 100 million sensors. We would never allow any enemy of this country to have that kind of information on 100 million devices in this country, and that's exactly what TikTok is.
Propaganda 101. They're really good at it. Senator, thank you. All right, the left's latest tactic to